Welcome to today's Property Insight, where we're going to be taking a deeper look into the UK's specialist supported housing sector. What exactly that means, the types of residents that occupy these properties, and also how this has opened up an opportunity for the savvy property investor to make an ethical property investment with a huge social impact. We're joined today by Chris Smith, who is the CEO and founder of leading UK community benefit society, Nurture Housing Association. Welcome, Chris.
Hi, Chris. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Hopefully we can have an informal chat today. We're really pleased that you were able to join us because it's a very exciting time for you with the Specialist Supported Housing Association that you head up. So can you just tell us a little bit more about the types of residents that you have, that you provide homes for? Because I think there's so much controversy about people,
tenants,
and I think we really need to hone into the detail of who you're providing homes for, please, and what types of vulnerable adults.
Yeah, of course. Well, thanks for inviting me today. Appreciate it from both of you. Yeah. So I'll give you a little bit more of an insight into the tenants we house. There's a wide spectrum of tenants, but they've all sort of the vulnerable sector. So they're either homeless, or they're leaving in care, so maybe 24/7 care. They don't need that care anymore, but they still need some sort of support that we'll provide. Victims of domestic violence, there's quite a lot of tenants with multiple disadvantages. So these sort of tenants struggle to live on their own independently, but what our job is to take them on, give them the support, and eventually, with our help, they can aim to live independently by themselves. So there's a wide spectrum of tenants. They don't all just fall into one category, but a lot of them have got needs. So they're vulnerable adults, homeless, leaving care, victims of domestic violence, and multiple disadvantages.
Neurodiverse, I think, is something.
Yes,
so we're
correct.
talking about some people that perhaps might fall under the autism spectrum.
Correct.
Okay, so it's really about the key fundamentals of sort of providing homes for these people, so presumably that they can live independently, so they're not people that need 24-hour nursing or anything.
No, there's
like
a stigma around what we do that we provide 24/7 care. We don't. It's not what we do. We provide support for the tenants to the level that they need it. Each tenant's different. So no, we don't go in and start making beds or cooking meals or anything like that. That falls under a CQC registration, and we're not that.
Could you explain a bit more about a community benefit society and how that's different to alternative housing associations?
Yeah, so the housing association per se are all the same. We can all do what we say on the tin. The difference between us being a CBS and a community benefit society is exactly that. We have to end up ultimately benefiting society with the money we generate. So we're registered with the FCA, we're not for profit, and any profits we do make at the end of the year have to be driven back into the community. Now, we can decide as a board and as a company how they're distributed. So we support local charities, we support wider charities, we'll have staff that do sponsored runs, so we'll sponsor them. We support local football teams.
Wonderful.
So there's a wide variety of how we can benefit the community, and down to employing local people, employing local contractors, cleaning companies. All that money then is going back in to benefit the wider community. So, we're open to suggestions if you have any ideas of how we can put the profit back in.
I think it's really nice because since you've taken over as CEO of Nurture Housing Association now, which is, I think you've been a leader in your field. And what I'm seeing is that you've got such a strong sort of ethical commitment to what you're doing, but also we have to look at it from a commercial aspect as well. So, of course, the landlords, you need those landlords and those investors, don't you? Because they're actually supplying the homes.
Correct.
Which presumably demand outweighs supply, I would imagine.
Yeah. At the moment, like you say, we're growing nicely, and it's not all down to myself. We've got a great staff team, put the foundations in place now that allow us to build on. We've got experts in each and every field, from finance to HR to supported housing. We've hunted high and low for those staff. So we've got a strong base, we've got a strong team, but without the landlords or investors, whatever, however we want to term them, we need those to be able to hit the demand. Each local authority we work with now know that what we can do. So as long as we've got those units coming in, we can meet the demand very, very easily. There's thousands and thousands of homes required. So, you know, the more we can get, the more we can provide.
So, Chris, it's very unusual for a property investor to have the benefit of income for 25 years. So that's really key. Can I ask, how is it that you can take occupation or contract to occupy for that amount of time with no break clause?
Purely the demand again, Ben. So the demand out there for social housing at the moment, there's a lot of these people who are in temporary accommodation, hostels, houses, and it's costing the government or the local authority a lot of money.
Yep.
So when they come with us, it's now their home. So some of the stories I could tell you about these tenants moving in, you know, it's emotional for them and the housing the housing officers are looking after them because they've never actually had their own home before. So we had a tenant the other week, fully furnished, as you know, brand new, tiled bathrooms, beautiful. First person to live in there. Housing officer went to check on him a couple of days later. Nothing had been used. He'd put a blanket on the floor, sleeping on the floor.
Really?
Watching telly on the floor because in his head he didn't relate to that was his furniture. No. Wherever he's been, it's been right. We're out. So you know, there's situations like that where you know, we're changing these people's lives, but we're giving them a home. And like I said, we can't keep up with the demand. So once these tenants are in and they're in payment, they remain there. They're not moving out. They haven't got the luxury of thinking, oh, you know, I don't like it, I'm going to move. No. Not more to the point. They don't want to move because they're so grateful that's their home. And that's their home. And, you know, the housing officers can kind of paint that wall, kind of put a picture up. We endorse them to make it your own home. Yeah. If you want to paint the wall pink, paint the wall pink. You want to put a picture up, put a picture up. So getting back to the 25-year lease, I can only say I've not got a crystal ball. You know, the government might change something, but what I do know is the demand's there, and these people don't have any means to pay for their own housing. No. So it'd have to be a bold and brave move from the government to change the model of how it is, because the demand's not going anywhere. No, it's only increasing. Maybe they can change it when 1 year they've got nobody needing a social housing. And then they say, right, anybody who's in situ remains, but anybody in the future, they change the model. But
at the moment, that's not the case.
No, there's thousands and thousands.
So Nurture Housing Association will take the contract to occupy for the 25 years.
Yeah.
It's most likely that the same resident will live there potentially for 25 years, but there's a chance there could be a changeover. What happens in that scenario? How does that affect the investor?
So again, whatever local authority is, we'll get the referral. We'll know the tenant's moving out or moved out or for whatever reason. And then the referral will come in. We'll give the local location to the local authority. It'll already been approved because there's tenants already in there. We'll go and assess the property, light touch, decor, carpets, clean, turn around within 2 weeks. Next tenant.
So that won't affect the income from the investor's perspective?
No, that's all factored in.
Right.
Yeah, we factor in at least 2 to 6 weeks voids per apartment per year, and
you don't have that. No.
So the landlords are not sort of penalised if there's
the landlord, any of our landlords wouldn't even necessarily know there's been a tenant change.
No, they don't need to, do they? The contract's with you.
Yeah, it's hands off. We manage the tenant, we manage the maintenance. They'll never get a call.
That's another really important point, because under the FRI structure, fully repairing and insuring, the landlord doesn't have to worry about, not only do they not have the voids, but they don't have to worry about the maintenance, the service charges, the ground rent. That's all covered.
Yeah, and for anybody who invests in, you invest in property, I've invested in property. The headaches are, my front door won't lock, or my window's not working, my boiler's broke. Yeah, don't get those calls. They'll all come through to our call centre, and they'll get delivered out to the maintenance team accordingly. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's a slick operation. So the call will come in, it'll be postcoded, it goes onto our CRM system to that tenant. The maintenance team pick it up, so it'll go on as red. It's a traffic light system. Red means it's on but not being seen. Yellow, amber, it's been seen. Green, it's been dealt with. Pictures will come in, invoice will come in.
And what's that time frame?
Depending on the type of maintenance job. So if it's anything electrical or plumbing, leaks, that's dealt with within 24 hours. If it's anything more superficial, like a leaky tap, door handle loose, things like that, we aim to have it done within 48 to 72 hours.
Right. Okay.
And again, it's all automated through the CRM. So
there's another point that's often raised, and that you've just touched on it, the DWP. So where does this process start from a flow of funds perspective? I.e., who is ultimately paying the rent, and what does that look like from a
So it'll start from when we get a building. I'll go out and assess the building to make sure it's suitable. We work with one developer, so they know exactly what we need, where we want it, the specs, so there's no issues on that side. I'll get the address, we'll send it to the local authority, see who it encapsulates, what sort of tenant are there ready for that block. Normally that's a very quick process. If I get a block on a Friday, the local authority are wanting to put tenants in it on the Monday, so we have to make sure that's all structured right.
Nice.
So when we get the referral in, we'll select moving in dates for these tenants. That's the first part of the puzzle. So then that will then go to our DWP portal. Our staff will do that. So the housing officer will put all the details in. Somebody in the office will then say, so-and-so at 2 Acacia Avenue, moving in today. Double check with the housing officer, is all that right? Correct? Click accept. We're in payment. From the DWP to us.
Payment to you.
To us, and then we then pay them landlords.
That's even more streamlined than I thought. I actually thought it went DWP to local authority.
No, because we've got access, we've got our own unique access to the DWP portal, so it takes that step out of it.
Right.
So it means there's no arrears for us. The cash flow's there from day one,
Right.
and it's a lot more streamlined.
And you're paying the investors their rent on a monthly basis,
Monthly basis.
and the investors could be based anywhere in the world.
Yeah. We have quite a few overseas landlords.
Right. Okay.
Interesting, because when we're talking to sort of investors or landlords indirectly, of course, they want reassurance. So they'll often say, oh, can we see the contract with the DWP? Well, that's probably like, can we see Elon Musk's bank accounts, I would imagine. But, how can you explain that? Because I know obviously there's a precedent that's been set.
Yeah, we get that a lot. And there isn't, because of how the social housing system works in the UK, it's the referral comes through to us, the housing association, and then we don't have to accept every referral either, by the way.
Right.
Because they come through, it's an A4 piece of paper, it gives you the background of the tenant, who they are, blah, blah, blah. So we don't have to accept every tenant. We still get, although the local authorities would like us to, we accept enough where we can, so it doesn't fit our...
Is that because you want the
model.
right demographic in the building and it's harmonious and people are going to get on with each other?
And look, these tenants come from all walks of life, and some are a little bit more unsavoury than others, shall we say. So, I've got staff to protect, and we've got other residents to protect, and investors,
Properties.
investments to protect. So we don't say no to them all. So getting back to that, what would normally happen is it comes through from the local authority, and then the local authority would pay.
Yes.
So it'd come out of their budget. So with us being on the DWP portal, it just allows us to bypass that step. So it goes. It goes.
So more comfort to the landlord.
Yeah, and it's a lot simpler for us as a business, because we know that housing officer moves the tenant in, tenant appears on our portal the same day, and we can click accept.
How many properties have you got under management now?
Just over 2,200 units all across the country.
And not a missed payment?
No.
Oh, well,
so Yorkshire, North East, Tyneside, Stockton, Middlesbrough, Rochdale, Oldham, Manchester.
You touched on this, the demand not looking like it's diminishing. There's already a deficit now in the hundreds of thousands of properties required as we sit today. Is that right?
Yeah, and I know each government comes in and say they're going to set the sort of stake in the ground to build so many social houses a year. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure they're doing the best to do that, but they can't catch up.
No.
So there's always going to be a place for somebody like Nurture Housing Association, because we help them, we fill that void, we help, the referrals can come to us, and the local authorities know that the tenants are, looked after, provided for, and the quality homes that they're getting, are good as anything that the local government will build.
Sure. What are the core values, would you say, of Nurture that set you apart?
So on the website, which we'll be launching very soon, we've got 3 bullet points, and that's compassionate, consistency, and community driven. So the compassionate, because all our housing officers are compassionate about what they do.
Yep.
We're consistent with how we work. So the standard across the board is always the same. The level of support the tenants get is the same. And community driven, because that's ultimately why we're doing it.
Yeah.
To improve communities, not only from taking these people who are homeless and vulnerable and or in, various stages of life and improving their life, but we're also putting back into the community. So yeah, they're the three values we're sort of basing the company off.
I think
that's really nice.
I've had the opportunity to see your new website. The other thing that also stands out is the strength and experience of your team.
Correct. Yes.
So no, great website. So.
Yeah. Well, again, I wanted it to be transparent. So if when the website's launched, you'll go and meet the team. It's just dead simple. There's a mission statement, what we do, so investors can say, right, that's what they do. Nurture values, so we'll drill down into what I just spoke about more. Meet the team, so you'll see all our mugshots. Click on them, click on the face. It'll have a description of who they are, what they do for us, where they've come from, what they enjoy doing in the spare time, with their contact. You want to get in touch with them. And then we've also got a news feed, so anything relevant within social housing will go on there, but anything that we're doing that's relevant, so supporting charities, a special tenant story, employee of the month, things like that, just to keep it.
Yeah, lovely.
Keep it
engaging.
Real. Yeah.
But I think, for me, I really like the ethical side of this as well. But obviously we also have to recognise this commercial aspect. So I think Nurture Housing Association really truly needs good landlords, good investors. Of course, for them it's great because I'm sure that they're people with property portfolios, but they're looking for a truly hands-off investment opportunity, which this gives them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they're really helping you provide homes for these vulnerable people.
Yeah, I mean, for any investor looking at it, it's sort of double bubble, if you will. They're getting a good return. Treble bubble then, because it's hands off.
Yeah.
And then the third one would be they're changing somebody's life at the end of it. So, the people that we're housing, they need these properties.
Well, look, let's just touch on that again. Then you're right. It's a feel-good ethical investment. It's also the certainty of income for 25 years with no break clause.
Yeah.
It's index linked. So of course that's also important. But one of the questions two questions. One is what happens at the end of the 25 years. So I'll ask you that first.
Well, like in any other lease, the investor might sit down and say, right, I've had a great return out of that, and choose to sell it, choose to use it for their own, or we'd happily just roll
from your perspective, your preference would be because you don't want to house everybody.
No, we'll have a tenant in situ. So if everything's if everybody's happy, tenant would certainly like to stay. So we'd offer to renew that lease.
I think that's the comfort that the investors like to hear, is that your preference would be to renew.
Absolutely, yeah.
The other one that we get a lot is how are the rents calculated? And you touched on this earlier, but the reality is this is far more cost effective than the alternatives to the council and government.
Yeah, because they're all in temporary accommodation or hostels or some form of council property that's costing anywhere between £90 and £130 a day.
Yeah.
So they come over to us. Not only if the referral now off the list because they've got their own home, they're being looked after by us.
Yeah.
So yeah, the rents in terms of each tenant's dealt with on their own merit.
Yes.
So we have a company called Support Solutions who do rent calculations for all the housing associations in the country. We'll tell them the type of tenant, the property, what the property's made up of, and they'll come back with a rent calculation in a spreadsheet.
You're able to then offer these rents, and actually you're giving a better structure and a home to the residents, and you're also saving
The government,
money a lot of money
yeah.
along the way.
Yeah, yeah.
So I would imagine you're the DWP's dream.
You better have to ask him.
I will. Look, I think it's just great. And I think what's really great is since I've seen massive change and innovation since you've come in and sort of taken the ship by the helm, if you like, and you are the captain of the ship.
Yeah.
And so we're really delighted to have this opportunity to sort of speak to you about Nurture Housing Association, because it's, very new formation and it's very exciting. Of course, some of the questions that come up are, well, what happens if the Housing Association, God forbid, goes pop?
Yeah.
What happens then?
So there's, like any other company, an administrator will be brought in. But because we're dealing with social housing, we're not dealing with normal one-of-the-mill tenants that you could issue evictions to.
Yes.
They're in payment, that's their home, so administrator would come in and then they'd look at appointing a management company. They're called Myshon. They specialise in managing social housing portfolios. So Myshon and the team would come in, continue to manage the portfolio as is, and then keep the tenants in situ, keep everything ticking over, and then they'd either look for another single housing provider to take on the portfolio, or they'd break it up into areas and find different. They work solely in the social housing sector, so they're not like a letting agent. They deal solely, and they manage ongoing portfolios for housing associations now. They don't just deal with companies that have gone into
it would be a temporary step in, would it, to ensure continuity so that the
Kept
residents are
everything
not
going,
unhoused and the rents are not stopped.
Correct. And then they would go out to market and find another provider to take
alternative
over.
housing association, but they would step in to make sure that everything runs smoothly through that process.
Are they also there and they oversee things to make sure that everyone is adhering to the correct criteria? I mean,
that's their sector. So what John and his team would do, so I know John personally at Myshon, he'd come in and just run it as I would have.
Right.
Yeah, and just make sure everything, no tenants, because the ultimate aim of this is get the numbers of social housing down, and a company suddenly goes bust and 2,200 tenants are back in the system.
It would be a disaster.
It's a disaster.
I don't think that there's any chance of you Nurture Housing Association going under, by the way, Chris.
No.
Because I've seen that you're turning everything around and you're actually in profit, and you're recently filed your accounts, which I believe are incredibly healthy, and so I understand that your plan is to sort of regenerate a lot of that income back into the properties so that you can maintain
exactly
them.
And the next year's accounts, end of year was July 24-25. The team and I are trying to get those accounts in and filed by the end of the year.
Okay.
So again, you'll see the growth, and it's a steady growth.
Fantastic.
From 23 to 25, people are saying it's a massive growth. It is, because everything was put in place properly. The foundations were there. Accounting systems, HR team, finance team, maintenance team, housing officers. So we've got the basis now to grow, and we're growing at about 60 to 80 units a month.
Wow.
Excellent.
But I think what's really nice is that this is giving an opportunity, as I said, from an ethical perspective, but a commercial perspective, for those landlords or investors to have, if you like, a slice of the action. Because, of course, we know that commercially they're looking at their rental returns, but I have spoken to people before where they are purely interested in it because it makes them feel good. It diversifies their property portfolio. We're not going to take anything away from sort of straight buy-to-let residential properties, because we still need those as well. But I think it's a good balance and a good mix. The two sort of go together, don't they?
Makes the portfolio.
Yeah. It gives.
Yeah, I agree.
It means that landlords and investors can spread their risk.
Correct. And it helps us as well.
Yeah.
Because we need those 60 to 80 units to meet the demands. And I know in the grand scheme of things, 60 to 80 units isn't like a lot, but it's still going
making a
towards
massive impact,
it's still going towards getting those numbers down and helping people that need it.
Quick question from me, unless Ben's already covered it off, and being blonde, it's gone in one ear and out the other. Community Benefit Society, as opposed to being a charity or a limited company, why that formation, and what does that exactly mean?
I think it's more peace of mind. I mean, for us, it doesn't really matter in terms of how we operate. We'd operate, obviously, we're governed, we're registered with the FCA, so we have to be audited every year anyway. So that puts us under the spotlight a little bit more. It means, we have to be doing things ultra by the book, which we do it anyway. An audit doesn't necessarily mean that we, because we're not audited, we'd let things slide. We don't, but that is always in the back of our head that the accounts are audited and have to be approved by the FCA before they're put on their mutual's website. And then we're a not-for-profit, so for us, our aim as a CBS is to benefit the community, is to benefit these tenants, is to benefit local contractors and local workers and charities and however we can. So the fact we're a not-for-profit is another little peace of mind for the investor that there's no fat cats at the top taking out big dividends and spending it frivolously because we can't. Because the accounts are audited and the paper trail's there. So any money has to be documented on what it was for and why.
Okay.
So, in terms of how we operate, CBS doesn't, we're a housing association, CBS. It was just a little bit more prestige for me to be a CBS. Right. That, you're registered with the FCA, we're a not-for-profit. Let's see if we can make a real impact
and as you say,
in this industry and
further reassurance to the investors as well.
Correct.
Yeah, because I think sometimes people get confused because they think they start to think, oh, maybe you're offering nursing care or something like that, but you would have to fall under a different...
CQC, that falls under the Quality Care Commission.
Oh, okay.
Whereas you do provide 24-hour support, though, but not care.
Yes, we don't care. We've got a phone line 24/7, 365 days a year, so our tenants can always get hold of us. But we're not CQC registered.
And from the landlord's perspective, we've said that it's totally hands off, but do you have any sort of engagement with the landlords? Because we've had in the past, some landlords that have queried the fact that, okay, well, I've got a management agreement, I've bought the property or the lease to the property, but what happens now? What involvement will I have with the Specialist Supported Housing Association?
Yeah, I mean, our door's always open for any landlords. We've actually got a specialist landlords email address. Right. So they get given that on completion. If they've got any queries, they come straight through to our team, and any queries or questions, they'll be answered. I know Bobby's got a personal relationship with a lot of our landlords. So we do engage with the majority of them. Like, some of them we never hear from, but some of them like to drop us an email every now and again just to make sure we're still there.
Can you tell us a really good, feel-good story about someone that you've actually helped? I think I heard
probably
something.
Got hundreds and
thousands. There's one particular one at Christmas. It was a family who came to us via Rochdale Council referral. So our housing officer went to see where they were. What we try and do is we try and go and visit the tenant prior to them moving in with us. So the housing officer went and met. It was a family, actually. It was a single parent father with a daughter and a son, and this was like end of November last year. So we went to meet him and his daughter. Basically went to meet him, had a quick interview, made sure the referral was what it says. Then we showed them the flat, and his daughter started crying. So he went away, and the father took him to one side and said, "Look, we're in this hostel," and he had one daughter. She was 14. It was a hostel, like a HMO style thing where they have to share bathrooms and kitchens, full of middle-aged men.
Not appropriate.
So she never slept. He never slept. They looked, at the end of the tether. Anyway, when we took them to show the apartment, they all burst into tears. Sure. So the housing officer said, "Look, can I put a Christmas tree up for him?" I said, "Yeah." So we decorated the whole a whole apartment for them, and they came and
Nice thing to do.
put a little couple of welcoming presents, and they often come in and say the daughter's like totally different person,
Wow, that's
totally
impressive.
different person, because she was going to sleep with one eye open, just
Worried
worried,
in a dangerous environment.
dangerous environment, and now they're settled. She's loving school, and yeah, we just nice little touches like that. That just, again, the fact that they're in that's their home, and their eyes light up. You can tell you change them. A lot of them will end up emotional and crying because they can't believe
No, how lovely to be able to make such a
where they've
difference.
come from.
Mhm.
Yeah, and they do need help. Like I told you about the gentleman who he had a brand new bed, and he just
Yeah.
put his blanket on the floor.
Mm.
Just that.
Mm.
No duvet, no pillow, blanket, floor.
Oh, it's quite harrowing. I'm sure that you see some pretty
Yeah,
tough
he's a
things.
bit homeless. He's never never had any furniture in his life. He's gone from this to this.
Mm.
Broken family, and it just takes that coaxing, and this is your life now.
Yeah.
And we're here for you if you need us.
So, Chris, are there any alternatives to these particular residents that you're currently housing outside of the structure of Nurture Housing Association, as an example?
No, usually where they are is in some form of temporary accommodation, whether it be council or any other particular local authority. So, as far as I'm aware, no. Once they're on that list, it requires either the council finding them somewhere, their own home, or somebody like us taking the referral and providing the home for them. So, no, not that I'm aware of anyway. It's companies like us or the council themselves who are going to put this person into a new home.
And I know you're very passionate about not just the sector, but about what you're doing with Nurture Housing Associations personally.
Yeah.
Where do you see your Community Benefit Society going in the coming years?
Just now we've got the foundations in place and a great staff team. I'm just recruited another 4 members of staff that start on the 29th of September. They're on the housing side because that's growing quite rapidly, 60 to 80 units a month. So just keep expanding, keep providing the quality homes that we're doing, keep trying to keep up with the demand that the referrals were being given. And yeah, onwards and upwards.
Provide as many homes as possible.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's really about, would you say it's care in the community, what
Yeah,
we're doing?
yeah, we're doing that, and just in general trying to, get tenants who need it the help, and to be able to integrate back into community and live a normal life where they've not had that chance.
And no frustrated landlords, investors, you pay them on time, they're getting their rent into their bank accounts.
We don't have them. We can have frustrated tenants and frustrated staff, but no frustrated landlords.
That's good to hear. Well, look, I hope that we can help contribute in your growth plans. I hope that we can introduce many more landlords, because
That'd
I
be
think
great.
there's a great opportunity for the savvy landlord to get in on the action now. Don't miss a trick. I have a saying, snooze you lose. So we don't want anyone to lose out on this opportunity, because it's such a brilliant model and really helping, in the community where it's needed at the moment.
I agree.
We know that demand is there. On that note, I believe there are a number of blocks that are currently pre-approved that are waiting.
Correct.
So to the investors out there, the property landlords that want to get involved in this sector, that have enjoyed what they've heard today, please get in contact with us at specialistsupportedhousing.org.uk.